Stay tuned for the Joan Quinn Profiles. As an editor for Andy Warhol's Interview, the Los Angeles Herald-Examiner, LA Style, and Detour magazines, Joan covered the social set, the Hollywood hotshots, the international art scene, the mysteries of food, the excitement of travel, and the fabulous world of fashion. Joan continues to find creative people on the cutting edge who make things happen. Here's Joan Agajanian Quinn.
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome to the Joan Quinn Profiles. Waiting to be profiled are super All-American from Notre Dame, broadcaster, poet Tommy Hawkins, and artist Kristina Hagman, who hails from a legendary acting family. Tommy Hawkins grew up in Chicago, attended Parker High School, earned a degree in sociology at Notre Dame University, where for 2 years he wowed the world as an All-American basketball star. He signed with the Minneapolis Lakers, which then became the LA Lakers, and he's held important positions with other professional teams like the Dodgers. He's a part of our LA scene. He's an award-winning broadcaster. He's a civic leader, a Hall of Famer, and I love your bio because it says you are one of the nation's leading eclectics.
Yes.
Eclectics.
God. You can bring me on anytime. Thank you.
Oh, I'm so happy to have you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So how did you become a poet after all this background?
Well, actually, a part of the background was why I became a poet. When I was at the University of Notre Dame, and I was in my sophomore year, I had to take a year of English literature, and this very tall priest comes in, long black robe, white collar, deep-set eyes, and deep resonant voice. He says, "Good morning, men." He says, "My name is Father Saletta. The name is of Greek origin." He says, "It is my pleasure to teach you English literature this semester. My specialty is poetry, and I will make it live in your souls."
Did he? But
and you know what I said? I said to myself, damn.
It's not me. Or did you think about it?
I think he's not talking to me.
That's
because
right.
we got to go through Beowulf and the Canterbury Tales and Geoffrey Chaucer and all of these people before we get to what he was doing.
Because what he wanted to do, teach you poetry, right?
The whole thing and the whole history of it. And when he got to English, Old English poetry and American poetry and everything, he says, my favorite poet is T.S. Eliot. And he says, my favorite poem that he wrote was The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock.
How do you remember all this?
I do, and I remember him standing up and reciting it. He said, "Come, let us go then, you and I, when the evening is spread out against the sky like a patient etherized upon a table." And I said, oh my God, this guy, he's got it, and I want it. And so I asked him, everything that you can do if we walk in the evening on campus, which we frequently did with our professors, because Notre Dame, everybody thinks Notre Dame is this huge place. It is an area and buildings and schools, but there are only 10,000 students at Notre Dame.
Oh, it's that small?
Right.
Oh, wow.
Right.
Was it that size when you were there?
Oh, yeah, it was smaller.
Oh, wow.
And so you're in class with maybe 20 people.
Like a little private school.
Right, and you got to personalize education.
Right.
And if you were a dummy, you couldn't hide.
Prufrock, though, sounds like he should be in a priest frock, doesn't it, Prufrock?
Yeah, right, that's true.
But you walked the campus with him, and it was something that you could do with him and maybe your fellow other 20 students that you were talking about. But at a cocktail party, poetry is like not very exciting.
Well, see, because people think, oh my God, it's going to be too esoteric.
Right.
It's moonbeams hitting my eyes
And I don't
as
wanna
it
hear
shines through the window. No, that's not what I want.
Right.
My narratives, I don't say poetry, because when you ask the people on the cocktail circuit, where does poetry rate on a scale of 1 to 10, they say -1.
-1, right.
I want nothing to do with it. It's too esoteric. It died in some Greenwich Village coffee house in the 1960s. It's mental masturbation. I had no use for it in school. I have no use for it now.
Did people actually tell you some of those things?
They have said that to me.
They have said that to
but
you?
Then they read my style of poetry and they say, oh my God.
But you know, this cover, Life's Reflections, Poetry for the People, this cover looks like you're in outer space, resonating. The artist was fantastic who did that.
18-year-old kid.
How'd you find him?
He submitted this through my layout director and said, can Mr. Hawkins use this in his poetry book? And I looked at it and I said, oh my God, this fits my title, because I had the title before this, and I said, this man is looking up and he's reflecting and everything. I said, I'm going to use it on the cover of the book.
It's wonderful. And when I started reading it, it's very personal. It is so personal. You get to really know Tommy Hawkins as a person. And the dedication, I mean, do you have all these kids? Where did all these kids come from?
What are you saying? I've got
how many?
I've got let's see, 5 kids.
That's what I meant.
Yes.
That's a lot of kids.
Yeah, 4 the first marriage and 1 the second marriage.
Because there's this long list of dedications.
Right. My wife, my mother, my sister, and my kids.
I know.
You know, and I figured, you leave one of them out and you're in deep trouble.
You needed a whole page.
The dedication.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think when you talk about it and the personal part of it, when I read the poem about your mother.
Yes, thanks, Mom.
It just was like, that woman taught you to be a terrific guy.
She did.
And she did teach you. And
you
could tell from what you learned from her by the way you wrote the poetry.
Well, you know, that's very important. And I say to you in my introduction that you will see me, you will see yourself, you will see members of your family, and you will see a lot of your friends in this book, because each narrative takes you down a different path and is the subject matter of different things in life. And I just get on with it, and I say, okay, I challenge you to read this and read one narrative and put it down. You're going to go on to the next page.
No, you can't. You go on, and then you see this beautiful picture of your mother.
Yes.
Then you see this handsome father that you had who deserted the family. Who did, yeah, in a way. And then the way you write about your father, it seemed like it was heart-wrenching for you to have to write it.
It was, but it was digging in and finding closure.
Your mom taught you to be a good son because you did do what you were supposed to do, even though you hadn't seen him.
All right.
Is that right?
That's right. You know, we went back to bury him in North Carolina.
I know.
Right. He is buried in a tombstone on the hillside in a grave next to his mother's, with a tombstone placed above his head to distinguish him from others.
From others, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like you dig in and you see what I went through as I was growing up without a father.
I know. That's what I think. She did such a great job. The other thing that I thought was so wonderful was the art. You have Leroy Neiman.
Yes.
And you have Ernie Barnes.
Yes.
And you have
Tim Townsley.
Yes.
Anatole Krasnowski.
People that I knew.
A lot, yeah.
And did they do the art for you, or did you find it?
Some of the artists read the poems and painted the pictures. Others, I had to find the art that matched the narratives.
That's what I wondered, yeah.
Right, and then get them cleared so I could use them in the book.
You did a fantastic job, and I think the way they match up is really terrific. One thing, talking about all the interesting things you did in Life's Reflections, you mentor a lot of kids.
Yes.
And I think that's another important part of your life.
Well, it's very true, because I think that the messages will mean something to you. I had a call from an an Israeli grandmother who bought my book at the unveiling of it, which was December 8th at the Museum of Tolerance.
Oh, right, because
Right.
you thanked the Museum of Tolerance, too.
Yeah, for all of the support. And she says, I read a different narrative to my grandkids every night, and we discuss the painting that accompanies the narrative.
With yours?
Oh,
she
yeah.
reads it? Oh, that's
And
so
I'm
great.
saying, whoa. And see, this has nothing to do with race, creed, or color, religion or
nothing,
any of
yeah.
that. It has to do with life's reflections.
And that's what you did. And the other thing is you lecture so much, so you're able to give of yourself and teach people, besides mentoring kids and other people.
I was at the Pasadena Senior Citizen Center this morning. I'm all over the place. I'm like good fertilizer, just spread me around and I'll make it grow.
Right?
And I move on to the next yard. Right. That's very true. But, and there were, all of these senior citizens, and I was reading narratives to them, and there were people sitting there crying. And one lady came up to me this morning. She says, I want 4 books. She says, because I want to give them to my family and everything, because I want them to get the messages that you're providing.
Because they're personal.
Yes.
And people relate so beautifully. We have a couple of minutes left. Will you read just a part of something?
Well, let's do Music of My Mind.
Okay.
Okay. Do you mind if I slip on these glasses?
I think you
The
need
lighter,
them.
yeah.
Talk about the old age home.
Right. Exactly. Here we are.
Okay.
This is called Music of My Mind, and it tells you what music means to me. I played trumpet in the concert band in high school. I go to all sorts of concerts. I've known and continue to know jazz musicians. I MC the 80th birthday celebration of Kenny Burrell with B.B. King and all of those. So let's try this one on for size. Life's melodies invade me, some archival as they flow, encircling mind and body with movements to and fro. Orchestral apparatus dramatize the changing scenes, then comes enticing nocturnes, so angelic and serene. Incessant scores of music paint the images I'm seeing, cascading compositions that bathe my very being. Polytonal phrases pour from instruments galore, percussions, keyboards, woodwinds, brass, and strings that touch my core. Sonatas, fugues, and cannons blend with jazz and lots of blues, and amplified fantasia with big bands I often muse. A constant stream of sensate sounds, modulations self-contained, no preludes or finales, just passages sustain. God's gift to my humanity, so diverse and beatific, I praise the eternal maestro, so giving and prolific.
Oh, what a wonderful way to close the program.
Oh.
I think one of the things about Tommy Hawkins is everyone knows what a great athlete you are, what a wonderful ambassador for goodwill, but they probably didn't know the artistic side of you, the music and the poetry. Thank you.
This is a shocker. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
And go to my website. Find out all about it. You can even purchase a book there.
That's a good one, yeah.
TommyHawkins.net.
That's perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tommy.
My
and
pleasure.
don't go away. We'll be right back with artist Kristina Hagman. Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome back to the Joan Quinn Profiles. I'm here with artist Kristina Hagman, who was born in New York, but was a bi-coastal child. She and her brother lived in Malibu, where they were surrounded by people in the arts. Her grandmother, the great Mary Martin, and her father is the simple guy in I Love Jeannie and the villain in Dallas. His name is Larry Hagman. Kristina has spent years with artists in New Mexico, Oregon, Washington, Japan, all over the world. And was it a conscious decision on your part not to go into show business?
Oh, no, I actually did some acting.
That's
I did it for several years. And I think it was my third or fourth movie of the week where they cut my shirt down and pulled my pants up and had me jogging. And I was going, is this art? It made money, and it supported my painting habit.
Oh, so you were painting at that time?
I was painting back at the time that I was acting, and I did off Broadway, and I'd be, you know, everybody would go out at 2 in the morning and drink, and I would go home and paint.
Oh, you were on stage too?
Yeah.
Oh, so you really did go into it.
I worked with Herbert Berghoff and Uta Hagen.
Oh, you did? Oh, so
yeah.
But were you intimidated coming from like Mary Martin, the singer?
Well, you know, when you're in the midst of it, you don't know that they're famous. It's only when you step back that you realize.
I see. But you know, the artistic part, then you did take the acting artistic part, but the other artistic part, I think, came from your Swedish mother.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
those ancestors, didn't it?
She was very much encouraging. She let me paint on all the walls.
Not in that way. She was very artistic. She is very artistic.
She was a clothing designer and a jacuzzi designer, and
she did all the houses.
She did lots of houses, and when my mom and dad met, she was a clothing designer in London.
Oh, because I knew she has the artistic bent. Her sisters are artistic,
Yes.
And her mother, your grandmother, on the other side, it was
wow.
so beautiful.
She was
wasn't
very
she?
elegant.
Oh, beautiful with that hair.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she was great. Almost the opposite of the other
Mary
grandma.
Martin. My Mary Martin was 14 till she died, and my other grandmother was definitely the stately woman.
She was always 90. Every time I looked at her, I thought she was 90.
Oh, she won't want to hear that.
So you chose not to go to art school.
No, I chose not to go to art school. That's true. I saw so many young, enthusiastic artists getting slaughtered. You know, they would get picked apart.
You mean in school?
In school. You know, this famous critique thing. And I did go to school quite a few times, and I did experience that critique experience. But I preferred to be mentored, and I found older artists to invite me into their studio and share with me. Like I would meet an artist that was a professional for many years and say, you know, I'm struggling with stretching a canvas, and he'd say, come in on Wednesday, I'm stretching a bunch of canvases.
Oh, in that respect.
I had
basics.
I was an apprentice.
Yeah,
in many
the
ways.
Basics. One thing I thought, instead of going to art school, you traveled the world on what you called your Peter Pan grant. Love that.
You know, think lovely thoughts and you'll fly away. There you go.
But really tell us, what was Peter Pan, how that came into it.
Well, she
My grandmother,
Mary, Ganny, used to give me a little bit of her royalties when I was young. So it really was a grant.
So royalties from what?
Sound of Music, all her various productions that she owned pieces of the royalties of.
So South Pacific?
You know, I
mean,
dare not say. You know how litigation is? If I say the wrong thing,
no, don't say it.
No,
but was she in all of those?
She was in all of those. South Pacific, Peter Pan, Sound of Music, and she originated those great roles that so many interesting people have done since.
Yeah, that's what I meant more than anything. We don't know how much you have of any of those. But you also had a grant to go to Italy.
Yes, yes.
And not a Peter Pan grant.
No.
An art grant.
A cultural grant. It was called the Franco-Italiano Culturale. And it was in a little town called Murulucano. It was where Joseph Stella is from, the guy who did the Brooklyn Bridge in the 1920s, very deco. So his hometown wanted to be known as a mecca for artists.
Oh, how great.
And the founding fathers of the community raised money to bring artists every year.
Oh, they did?
Yes.
So you would apply for a grant?
You'd apply for a grant, and I was lucky enough to go. And
how long were you there?
The first time 6 months, and I got a second grant to come for 3 months.
You're kidding?
Yeah, it was great.
Oh, and what did they do? Paint? Did you paint?
I
or
painted.
You did anything you wanted?
I painted. I did my first successful woodblock print there, too. In fact, when I first got there, I just walked. I walked and walked, and I think I stalked my subjects, you know?
Yeah, so you knew what
Yeah, because you can't just walk in there and go, okay, I got it.
Right. And you want to meet the community too, don't you?
Absolutely.
The one thing you were talking about, did you learn how to speak Italian there?
Badly.
Badly, but you did.
Yeah.
One thing you talked about doing workshops or being mentored, and you were lucky enough to be with Linda Banglas.
Yes.
And Wayne Thiebaud.
Yes.
And
Diebenkorn was amazing.
Richard Diebenkorn.
And Nathan Oliveira, such a love.
But with such great people, how did you get, what kind of workshops were those?
When I left Hollywood and
Broadway
and all that stuff, I really needed something that was very different and would not seduce me back into that world. And I moved to New Mexico. There was no opportunity to make a film in New Mexico. And it was a real, during the 80s, it was a great time for artists. And all those wonderful artists enjoyed coming to New Mexico. So they would enjoy the scenery, and they taught master classes.
Oh, they did master classes.
And I was able to jury into those master classes.
That is what's so great, because they're all such top-of-the-line artists.
They were all the people I admired most, and I feel so fortunate.
You had a studio in
I had a studio in New Mexico, and I was always painting.
You were painting. You painted a portrait of me.
Yes, I did.
When did that come into your...
that was before I studied with any of those guys.
Oh, it was?
That's when I was working with the John Sloan Drawing Group.
Were you in New Mexico then?
I was in New Mexico
Yes,
then.
because you put that look into my face.
Didn't
Yes,
you?
I did. Put that Native American look.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is like part of what a portrait's about, isn't it?
A portrait's, well, you should know, of all people, you should know what a portrait's
Right.
about, but an artist always brings their own experience to the moment.
Exactly. And then the thing that I keep thinking about you is you were looking and looking for a niche. And I think the printmaking must have just hit you hard.
Do you know, just before I turned 50, I discovered printmaking in this way. I'd been printmaking etchings and monotypes for years, but when I started carving into wood, I felt like I'd come home.
And it took over, didn't it?
It absolutely
And you
took over.
actually, I'm going to hold this.
Okay.
You actually carved into this?
I carve into the wood, and the things that are carved away don't print, and the things that are on the surface do print. So you put ink on these surfaces, and it comes out like that.
Let's see if we can get that over there. Yeah. I'm going to hold that one up.
Okay.
So it comes out like this.
Yeah.
But this isn't good enough, right?
No, you have to add to it, and add to it, and add to it.
I'm going to hold these up, so then you can say, what did you add in this?
So here we've had the sky added, and there's a little bit of silver behind the palm tree. And then we've added, we jumped all the way. That's okay. It just keeps adding till you get a composition that is
so now
really
you have blue, you have the white, the green.
There's purple, there's yellow.
And where do you add them? You just keep putting the paint
new pieces of wood for each color. Each color has a new piece of wood. And to get one piece of wood to go exactly in the same spot as the wood before.
This was the one before.
Yeah.
But we can see this is before, and then how intense it gets.
It gets more and more.
And then is there one more? Should we go one more?
One more back. There, see, that's before. So anyway, they all add up.
You can see the way they are and how they work. Wait, this is the last one.
Yeah, I have this amazing thing that I discovered. I can envision what it's going to look like. It takes maybe 3 months to make it.
To make this
Yes.
one piece?
Well, I get addition of 25.
So wait a minute. So with this one piece,
yeah.
Then you put another block on top of it.
Another block
and another block on top of it.
And another block on top of it. Yeah. And it has to dry between each one.
So how many blocks go
6
on this?
6 blocks
So
go.
this is
that's the beginning.
This is like a nothing piece right now to
Right.
you.
Right.
Oh, that's what and how do you find the right spot?
The registration, the perfect,
Yes.
is so exciting. No, it is. It's I've become really geeky. There is this way that you use a press that was designed for making newspapers in the 1930s. It's called a Vandercook. And they used to put lead type and they'd do every sheet of the newspaper separately by hand, very labored. Think about the newspaper, you see it every single day. Some guy would do every single page by hand and run it through this press. And now we're reusing those old machines to make art.
Is that what you're
It's
using?
1930s Vandercook.
This made on this?
Yeah.
So you put the block on and then you press it.
Yeah.
And what you said was this is just, this is a finished piece. I mean, this has everything on it.
It has
you want.
pretty much everything on it.
And then if you want the fence, what do?
You have another block that changes the fence.
Oh, and then you...
And another block, and another block, and another block.
And how in your creative feel does that come out? Because it sounds like something that's not free-handed.
Well, I'm dyslexic, and you have to do everything backwards.
So that's good.
I'm perfectly suited for this job. And I like process. I'm a mother and a caregiver for my own mother, and having something that has a process keeps me coming back to the work and helps me be disciplined. And that's a good thing.
Do you call this a multiple?
It is a multiple. It's a limited edition of 25.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
So when you start, let's do this one. When you start, do you do all?
All the blue, yeah, 25.
I got
Actually, do 40
I see.
to get 25 good ones.
Really?
Because they mess up.
I see, I see. So you're going to stay here in printing.
Yes.
Can you do people?
Yeah.
I know you were influenced. I saw some of the prints from Japan.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Which don't look like the normal
No, and
Mount Fuji.
I appreciate them and respect them, but you don't want to copy. You need to be yourself.
Yeah. And so you come up with all these great things.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that you came and showed us what a printmaker does.
Oh, I'd love to. I'd love to. And I have a bunch of shows coming up here in the LA area.
Tell us. Pasadena.
Pacific Asian Art Museum has honored me with a one-person show, and that's a great honor because they focus on Asian artists, and to allow somebody who isn't coming from an Asian background to do an Asian-like work, I think it's a great honor.
That's
I'm very
great.
happy.
Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
And keep writing to us at 777 South Figueroa, 44th floor, 90017, and JAQUINN1 at AOL.com. See you next time.